Good morning and welcome to the final part of this Magnum 91 disassembly video series. I finally discovered root cause. Actually, I discovered it yesterday or last evening when I was actually listening to part 2. As I was sitting there listening to it, thinking about editing it, I was working on this engine at the same time. So here are all the parts of this engine, or at least most of them. I got some of the screws in a bin here. And I want to talk about these things individually. So I know what the root cause is, and I'll get to that eventually, and I'll show and tell all of that to you. But I've taken this and I didn't take the bearings out. First of all, I did not remove any of the bearings because of the things I discovered about this engine and really the actual need and desires of the customer, whether he really wants this to be a running engine or not, which I don't know that it's going to be anyway, but I'm going to leave that up to Terry to decide. So Terry, this video is primarily for you, but also for the edification of all the people that have been watching this series. So as you know, as a recap, this engine would not turn over completely, would not go all the way through. Well, it does now. There's still a stop here, and I'll get to discussing that stop here momentarily, but before I do that, I want to go over some of these other parts. So in the part 1, I mentioned that I had purchased some drill rods from McMaster Car to replace this push rod here, and I've got these drill rods here. I got 2 sets here, and they cost me like $25 to get these 2 sets, and most of that, or a lot of that cost was just shipping. So, and I've got the rocker arms here too. So the thing that I find interesting about these rocker arms is that both of these adjustment screws are set all the way to the bottom, to as far down as possible, with this nut still being able to be retained on there. Now, why would that be? I'm not saying that this push rod here is not the correct push rod or the original push rod for the engine, but it's just curious to me that these would both be set to the lowest position, indicating that that push rod was too short. Maybe. I don't know. It's just curious is all I'm saying. So here are the drill rods. So these drill rods, these two, this pair here was the ones that I said, and neither of these drill rods is exactly the same diameter as the main one, as the original one. However, this one is about the one that's closest in length. So I think that is going to work, especially if this is just going to be a static display engine, which is really what it could end up being, and these drill rods will look good. So what I'll end up doing is I'll just go out and, you know, round these sharp edges off and kind of try to make it look more round, or round it off. This is the other set of drill rods. These are a little bit longer and thicker in diameter, so these would require a bit of grinding down to get the length, and then of course rounding off. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this, which ones of these I'm going to use. I'll probably take one of these smaller ones first and just see how easy it is to just kind of round the tips off, because I'm not exactly sure how hard these are. I mean, I know what the hardness value is, but that doesn't translate anything to me as far as how hard it is to, you know, grind or work with it, being a non-machinist like I am. So the next thing I want to talk about is this rocker arm holder, and I still had the original little clips over there, but I decided I wanted to see if I could replace them with a more modern E-clip that I've got, and I already lost one of these trying to get this on there. So I just put one on one side so I could just, I put it on one side so I could actually try to get this thing lined up and squeeze it together, because it's really tough to do. So this one is on there, and I think I can just put these on, put the rocker arm, put this adapter on here, or holder on, screw it under the head, and then just put them on like that, and then I can squeeze that. So I don't think I'll be using those ones that came with it, because they were very small, very weak. So the next thing is timing of this engine. Very simple. In fact, the timing dot is pretty small, so I've just put a little Sharpie mark right there. So it is at, when that's at top dead center, both of these lobes are facing downward, which would be the proper position for it. So this is simple, and this is all cleaned up and ready to go in here. The head, I have not removed or dropped the valves at all to clean them, because honestly, I don't know that it needs it. I mean, there's very little carbon buildup. This black, it's black. It isn't black because of carbon buildup. I think it's just the dark blue anodizing that has a little bit of carbon on there. But for the most part, I mean, these valves operate fine. So I'm not going to bother with dropping the valves and taking them out of the head. So here's the thing here. This was interesting. This is a little timing case or tappets. So I like this design because it's really cool. It's very easy to take out. It's held in by those two set screws as you saw, and I just pulled this thing out. And I thought these were in cups, but they're not. They were very seized up in there, so I had to press or push them out. But now they're all freed up, and they just kind of float like that. So this is really cool. This is really neat. I like this design a lot. And of course, here's that rear cover, timing case cover. No gaskets on this, which is just absolutely beautiful. Now here's the thing that I find incredibly strange, very strange, in that this is not the stock carburetor. I don't believe. Maybe Irvine, says Irvine on it. Maybe Irvine, maybe this thing came with an Irvine carb. I don't know. I just find that very curious, and it looks like it either doesn't fit properly because it looks like it's glued in place because there's a big glob here, so it's like I don't really want to be taking this thing apart. And these set screws that are holding the carb base in place just don't look right. So yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to do much of it. Everything here has been in the ultrasonic cleaner. Even the carb, this whole assembly has been in the ultrasonic cleaner, and it's free to move. I mean, yeah, I could take that barrel retention screw out here and polish this up a little bit, but you know, high speed needle moves, everything. I don't believe that this would not work at all. I can do my testing with it and put a piece of fuel tubing on here and blow through it and hold my finger here and make sure it still seals, but I'm not going to be breaking this bond here probably or taking this off the adapter. But I don't believe that this is a stock carb. I mean, yes, both of these things came from England. This actually, the carb says made in England. The engine was made in England. Was Magnum contracting and using Irvine carbs? I have no idea. All I know is that I thought this was odd. Okay, so let me put these parts in the bin here, and we'll get to the nuts and bolts of the root cause. Make sure I get that little E-clip. Get to the root cause of why this engine wasn't turning over, because as you saw in the videos, there was no broken parts in this engine. So when you start to eliminate the things that an issue isn't and you're only left with what it is, it took me a little bit to figure it out. But if you look closely at the bottom of this case, and you may not even be able to see it, you see this right here? This case took an impact, a very strong impact, and it bowed, it impacted and caused the case to buckle. Basically, I think you can see it pretty good there. I can feel it. I can put my finger in this dent. I cannot get that dent out. I did attempt to do that. I put a rod in there and I was tapping it down, and that's how I got this thing to do this, to at least come through. But let me take this screw off of here. Yeah, well, it is a screw technically. Air screw. Let me take the prop off. Do I need to take the prop off, or I just want to take the front housing off? Nah, let's take the prop off too. But I mean, so I put, like I said, I put all these things in the ultrasonic cleaner. The bearings turn over fine, so I'm not going to be replacing bearings unless that's the desire of Terry, the owner of this engine, and what he wants done with it. But I don't know that this can ever be made to be a running engine, and I'll explain why here in a moment. So obviously I have no idea how that big dent, what kind of an impact this engine took, but it took a pretty substantial one to cause, and there's even some fracturing here. So this is a cast part, and this is the casting line, And it took an impact right there, which has weakened the whole cast. In fact, I can see some fracturing here. So that's like, ugh. Can this survive? I mean, this crankshaft, I didn't do anything with this other than just put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. I didn't remove it or anything like that. But this all moves quite freely. Yeah, it's got a little noise to it, but you know, I don't think those bearings are... Put it this way, it all depends on what Terry wants. If Terry wants me to go ahead and pull all the rest of this stuff apart and actually try to run it, so I'm going to clean this up a little bit more if I don't take it out. So I'm going to leave it up to the desires of the customer because this is not my engine. And like I said, it would already be very challenging to get this front housing or this drive hub off here because I just don't think I've got the jaws of my pullers are not thin enough to get in there. And I do believe that this is just one of those tapered collets. I don't see a slot for a Woodruff key. So I think it's just one of those tapered collets. In fact, I can see it. I think I can see the slit in the collet there that just creates a really strong mechanical bond. So technically just heating this thing up a lot and tapping this thing down, it would break free that bond. And then, you know, this would come off and I could get all that out. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not. But so here's the inside of this engine. And obviously, let's see if I can kind of get a gauge here for where this thing is riding. So it's obviously riding enough here to feel that bump. Yeah, I wish I could kind of rotate it around, but I really can't. So anyway, so that's the root cause. There is a bump there that's still... So here are the things that could be done. I'm not saying they should be done or will be done, but could be done. I can't gauge how much material or how much intrusion there would be on this. There is no wear on the bottom of this connecting rod, obviously, because this did not happen while it was running. This damage, this impact, you can see pretty good there. This impact did not happen while the engine was running. I don't think. I mean, how could it? Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe that's... I don't know. I really don't know how this happened. I don't believe that it could have happened while in operation, but maybe it did. I don't know. So I didn't take these, the piston pin out either because these are retained by very, very small little snap rings with the little holes in them, and I do not have snap ring pliers even remotely close enough inside. I don't have snap ring pliers at all, first of all, but even if I did, I don't think I would have anything small enough. So this is going to be as it is. It's freed up, it's loose, it's good. The piston ring rotates in the groove, it's fine. So this is staying like it is. So that's that little story. So I don't know, you know, I have no idea how much there is. Now, I have changed that a lot by sticking a rod down here and tapping it and just kind of flattening that out, and then I would go through and kind of clean it up with a little bit of emery cloth. Could the engine be run with that little bit of bump in there that you saw? Maybe. Maybe you just put it in a stand and you sit there with the electric starter and let it grind its own way and remove its own material. Do I go in there with a Dremel sanding wheel and just lightly sand the bottom of that and then maybe just hit the bottom of the connecting rod a little bit just to create some clearance? I don't know. Those are things that could be done. Are those things that should be done? I don't know. Just because of the fact that I'm already seeing some fracturing in the bottom of the case, and that's the weak point. That's where, and I don't know. So I didn't punch this timing wheel out because, quite honestly, all of this stuff feels pretty good. So unless it's really desired that I replace bearings, which I don't think is necessary because this is such a low time engine and this has all been in the ultrasonic cleaner and oiled up real well. for what kind of service life this engine might see, especially if it's just going to be a static display, these bearings are perfect. There's no reason for it. If this is ever going to be run more than once, then the bearings might want to be replaced, but I don't know that anybody would ever run this more than once, and I don't know that I will ever run it. Like I said, all of this is up to the decision of Terry. So anyway, Terry, this is decisions that you need to make and advise me on before I do anything further with this engine. So I'm going to be expediting getting this video edited and posted, and that is what the root cause is of the solid or complete stop there, was that this engine in some time in the past took a serious impact here and pushed in the bottom of the crankcase on a casting seam, which has weakened the case and caused the connecting rod not to spin freely in the crankcase.